Hello everyone, welcome to session 6 of module 5, Incident Management. In this session we will learn about what are incidents, what is incident management, what are incident reports and how to write good incident reports, and then finally we'll see incident or defect lifecycle. So let us understand what are incidents first. So an incident is any situation where the system exhibits questionable behavior. So whenever you are testing or analyzing a system or it is being used in the production environment by an end user, if there is any questionable behavior seen in the system, that is an incident. If you find that the expected result that you are expecting, the expected outcome that you want from the system does not match with the actual result, then that's a incident. That's a questionable behavior, and that is known as incident. An incident is any event occurring where actual results vary from expected results. So if actual and expected results do not match, that event is known as incident. And any inconsistency between the actual and expected results caused by test environment issue with developer code, issue with test data, issue with the hardware, or invalid expected results or tested mistakes. So these are the scenarios in which inconsistency may occur between actual and expected results. So if there is any inconsistency between due to test environment issue, or due to the issue of the developer code, due to issue with the test data, or any issues with the hardware, or even if the expected results that you have mentioned in your test outcome are not valid. So in all these kind of situation, if expected and actual do not match, then that inconsistency is known as incident. Then an incident is a defect or bug only when the root cause of that incident is some problem with the item being tested. So an incident is any variation in the actual and expected result due to any conditions that we discussed, like test environment or developer code. An incident is a defect or a bug only when it is the root cause. The root cause of incident is the problem with the item that you are testing, is the problem with the code that you are testing. Then what are incident reports? Incident report contains a description of the questionable behavior. So any report that explains the behavior that you have seen, questionable behavior that you have seen while using the system or while testing the system, is known as incident report. Incident report helps to have clear goals in mind when writing. Then it provides information about the incidents to team members. So once you write down incidents in the report, it has complete steps which can be viewed by other team members and can be understood by other team members. So incident report provides information about the incidents to other team members as well. Then it helps in analysis of the incident data. So once you have incident report, you can go through the steps to reproduce the questionable behavior that is being observed by somebody. You can then analyze that incident data and find the root cause of the issue. The incident report analysis analyzes data, eventually helps to improve the test process. So once incident reports are being logged, they are analyzed, and after analysis whatever issues are there, whatever discrepancies are seen in the actual and expected result can be rectified. If it is a code issue or a defect, that can be rectified by the code, which in turn eventually improves the test process, improves the quality of the software and the test process. So how to write good incident reports? The first point to note is that you always need to be attentive while running the tests so that you do not miss any incident. First and foremost thing is that you should be very attentive while you are testing any system so that you do not miss any questionable behavior of the software. So being attentive is the key factor while doing testing. Try to reproduce intermittent issues and add as much information as you can relate to intermittent issues. So mostly in software testing, it has been seen that most of the time you will find an intermittent issue which is not reproducible every time. So you need to kind of narrow down that issue. You need to re-execute that issue again, or that test case again and again, to narrow down the root cause, to narrow down the exact steps and scenarios in which that failure occurs. Otherwise, if the developer is not able to reproduce the incident or defect that you have raised, that defect is not taken into account because developer cannot reproduce, and it's just closed and returned. So in case there are any intermittent issues which are not always occurring, which are occurring only in certain specific conditions, you need to perform it again and again and add as much information as you can to so that it's helpful for developers to reproduce those issues. Then try to isolate the issue by changing the steps used to reproduce. So you need to isolate the issue by changing the steps used to reproduce. So if you find some issue with any test case or any scenario that you are testing, and that is not being reproduced by certain steps in the test case, so you should try to follow a different path in order to isolate that issue, in order to make sure which steps you need to perform exactly in order to reproduce that issue. Then you need to mention the impact of issues in the incident report. It is very important to mention the impact, what impact of the issues is there in the incident report. So if it is impacting, it is kind of critical for the software, then you need to mention the impact of the incident in the report as well. Then you need to use clear and unambiguous neutral language. So in incident report, the language has already to be neutral. It has to be very clear, to the point report, and unambiguous. There should not be any confusion in the incident report. The report should be concise, so do not try to elaborate or do not try to explain in pages the report. So these reports should be very concise and to the point, and should be easy to understand to the other team members. Then it is recommended that all reports are reviewed by lead tester or experienced tester. So whenever you are logging an incident report, it is always advisable that these incident reports are being analyzed and reviewed by senior testers or lead tester before they are being actually assigned to the developers. Now let's understand what is defect detection percentage, DDP. Defect detection percentage compares field defects with test defects. So what are field defects? Field defects are the defects which arise after the software is in the production environment, after it is deployed in the field. And test defects are the defects which are found while the software testing life cycle. So during that life cycle, whichever defects are found, those are known as test defects. And once the software is being deployed and in maintenance phase, those defects are known as field defects. So defect detection percentage compares field defects with the test defects. It is very helpful metric to find the effectiveness of test process. So this metric is very helpful to find how effective the test process is. Now a DDP formula, how to calculate defect detection percentage. It is DDP is equal to defect found during testing by the testers divided by defects found by the testers during the test process plus defect found during the production environment, defect found in the field after the software is being deployed. So you can see if defect detection percentage is 1, then your software test process is most effective. So defect detection percentage will be 1 only if there are no defect found in the field. So suppose testers found 100 defects, divided by 100 plus 0, that is 1. So if DDP is 1, then your test process is very effective. As soon as DDP starts reducing from 1, then you need to take care of the issues in the test process. You need to improve the test process. So suppose defect found by testers are 100, and then defects found by in the field once the software is deployed is another 100 more defects. So DDP in that case will be 100 divided by 100 plus 100, so that will be 100 divided by 200, and that is 0.5. So DDP is 0.50, which indicates that the test process is not able to find those 100 field defects that it should have found during the test phase itself. So the lower the DDP is, more you need to focus on the test process and improve the test process so that the defects that are found in the field are found well in advance during the test process, and minimal defects are detected in the maintenance phase. So you cannot remediate 100% defects in the software because 100% testing is not possible. Exhaustive testing is not possible, but you can improve the test process so that minimal defects are being discovered in the field or in the maintenance phase. Then what goes in incident report? So an incident report may include summary of the incident. So that's the first very important thing. You need to include summary of the incident. You need to include steps to reproduce different steps. You need to narrow down the steps to reproduce the incident that you have seen. Then you need to mention expected and actual results. What was the expected result and what is the actual outcome that you are getting after executing a test. Then you need to mention the software version in which incident was found, phase, the phase of the project where incident was found. For example, was it functional testing phase, was it system testing phase, or was it user acceptance testing phase, or was it maintenance phase? So the phase of the project where incident was found, then test case that produced the incident. So you need to mention which test case you executed which produced the incident. Then if there is any reference to other document, for example tracing back to the test case or tracing back to the requirement, then you need to provide reference to other documents as well. And finally, the impact of the incident. What is the actual impact of the incident on the software release or the software? Then IEEE 829 standard test incident report template. What IEEE standard report contains, test incident report contains test incident report identifier, which is mostly auto-generated. This identifier is kind of auto-generated from the incident management tool that you use. So they generate identifier automatically as soon as you fill all the details and submit the incident. Then the summary of the incident is very important. Then incident description, what were the inputs, what were expected results, the actual results, any anomalies, date and time when it was found, what were the steps, procedure steps. So this is same as steps to reproduce. Then the environment in which you detected the defect. For example, was it on Windows and IE9, or was it on Windows and Firefox latest version, or Windows and Chrome? So these environment in which you were testing the software. And then attempts to repeat, testers and observers. So these are some of the description that you need to include, and the impact of the incident. So this is a standard template which is proposed by IEEE, and organizations modify this incident template based on their needs and requirements. So they use incident management tool, and they can modify the template to as per their needs and requirements. So the fields that you see, for example, date and time, procedure, step, environment, attempts to repeat, so they can modify these fields. If they require those fields, they'll add them, otherwise they'll just disable those fields for their from their incident management tool. So let's understand what happens to an incident after it is being logged and submitted into the incident management tool. So that's also known as a defect life cycle or incident life cycle. So as soon as you submit an incident, it moves to a opened state. So an incident is opened. Once it is opened, it is being analyzed by either the test lead or test manager to see whether it is kind of valid. So there will be a responsible person who will be analyzing all the defects to see whether those are valid, invalid defects, or can be deferred. So this person can be a development manager, test manager, depending who is fulfilling that role. So once it is open, if it is a valid defect, that gets assigned to the developer. Once it is assigned to a developer fixes the defect. Once he fixes the defect, that defect is moved to, he changes the state of the defect to fixed. Once it is fixed, it gets reassigned to the so developer changes the state to fixed and reassigns it back to the tester who raised that defect to verify it. So it moves into fixed state and it gets assigned to the testers who will need to verify that defect. Tester will again verify the fixed defect in the new version of the software that will be available. And if that is verified, if the retest passes, then tester closes that defect and defect moves into closed state. In case tester retested the fix in the new build and verification failed, he will reopen the defect, and after reopening, it will sort of again get assigned to the developer who has fixed the issue, or it will move to the open queue again, which and then the person who is managing the defect, he'll again reassign the defect to the developer. In most of the cases, once verification fail and it is reopened, it automatically gets reassigned to the developer who fixed that issue. And in case the defect is open and it is not a valid defect, then if it is not a problem here, if it is not a problem, then it moves to the state is changed from open to rejected. If it is decided that it is not possible to fix the defect, fix the incident in this release because it's not that critical, then it is moved to deferred state, and it is planned to be fixed later. Then it is moved to deferred state, which means that it will be fixed in the later releases. So once it is moved to deferred state, and if it is the next release of the software, all the deferred state are then reopened after gathering new information and assigned to developers to get them fixed, and then again verified. If it is verified, it gets closed. If it is verification failed, it's again reopened and reassigned to the developer. So this is a brief of how defect lifecycle or incident lifecycle is in the software development lifecycle. It is very simple to understand this defect lifecycle. There is nothing very critical and complex in it. There are simple states in which you just keep on assigning the defects and changing the states of the defects as per the work done on the defect. So to conclude, in this session we understood what are incidents and what are incident reports. Then how to write good incident reports, what factors you need to consider in order to write good incident reports, then what goes in incident report, what is the most important information that should go into incident report, and finally we saw incident or defect life cycle, the complete life cycle of a incident after it is logged in the incident management tool. Thank you.